Hey there, guys, and welcome to week 9. And this week is Success in a Week program, or Success in 12-Week program. We're going to be talking about communication and public speaking. Now, again, I want to welcome you back. I appreciate anyone and everyone that's listening to this podcast. This is going to be something that you really need to pay attention to, or those individuals or anyone that wants to listen should focus in and really hone in on learning how to properly communicate, right? Because I know that effective communication is extremely important. And how can you improve your vocabulary? Not necessarily use big words, right? But just be effective in articulating your message, right, to the individual that's sitting across from you or next to you, or whatever the case may be, whatever situation you're in, whether it's a networking event or it's a social event, social meaning, any type of event, right? Anything that you're out there participating in, one-on-one, group, whatever it may be, right? These are all necessities that are needed to effectively be able to understand or help people understand what it is you're trying to convey, right? So, look, at the end of the day, we're going to be talking about communication and public speaking. And you might be thinking, I didn't sign up to become a public speaker, right? I don't think many people have, or that is their initial plan. But at some point, you're going to have to speak one-on-one to an individuals and in a group setting. So let's just get used to it. Let's get used to the idea of being able to effectively communicate in any situation, no matter what it is. Now, I don't need you to get up in front of people and share ideas and all that, but I know something about you, right? And here's what I know. You are listening to this program because you are pretty much a high achiever. You're trying to build something more successful into your life, and you're trying to get it to a higher level. I think that's what everybody wants to do. And that's why I put this free information, this free content out there, is because I really want to share what it takes to be an effective communicator. And I just want to share this quick story about how I started. Basically, I feel like effective communication, or being out knocking on doors, now let me tell you, I'm the first one to tell you that I failed miserably. Was the shyest person you've ever met, but I consider myself an outgoing or an extrovert. How do you say that? An outgoing extrovert or outgoing introvert. So yeah, that's what I consider myself. I consider myself an outgoing introvert, but I had to practice and I had to get really good at understanding that every single person that I ran across, I had to say hello. I had to dig deep, literally, and get over the idea of basically being shy or not being able to express myself the way that I truly wanted. And I know a lot of people out there feel this way. So at the end of the day, I just put together this little podcast, or this Success in 12-Week program, and it touches on a bunch of different things that may or may not help you. And if it doesn't, just skip past it and go to the next one, or don't listen to it at all, or do whatever works for you. But at the end of the day, I guarantee you, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter what your goals are or where you're trying to get here, right? That this is the art of speaking and communicating your ideas. And whether it's, like I said, whether it's one-on-one or it's in a group of people, or a group setting, or an audience, whatever the case is, this will only help you on your journey to success. I promise you that. And this is a skill that cannot possibly hurt you. As I told you, I knocked on doors for 3 to 5 years. Let's call it 5 years. I literally knocked on doors. And my first year, I didn't do that great. I mean, I failed a little bit, and I couldn't get into people's homes. It was really hard. I really struggled for the first 3 to 6 months. I had a really hard time getting into a door, and I just wanted to quit. I literally wanted to leave because I hated the fact of being rejected, but they kept pushing me and saying, look, just don't take it personal. It's just a no. And the reason that they're saying no is because they don't know you, right? Number one. Number two is that maybe you don't have enough information. and or that you're not giving enough information when you finally do get across or get into someone's house to basically talk about what it is that you're offering them, right? And at the end of the day, I had to learn that it wasn't a sale. It was that I had to get people to like me. And that's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother topic about what to do and how to get people to engage. So again, this is a skill that definitely will not hurt you. And so I feel like it's your duty to learn how you do this and at least be at a proficient level so that you can articulate your message. You don't have to be the world's greatest orator, right? Or meaning the individual that's doing the speaking and charge money for your speaking fees. You don't even have to get to that level, right? But what we are suggesting you do, or what I'm suggesting you do, and I'm highly recommending you do it so that you learn how to confidently and successfully communicate your ideas. And whether it's with the opposite sex, whether it's in a job, or you're communicating with your family, your friends, whatever the case is, you need to be practicing at all levels, on all levels, and all the time. This is going to get you to the next level, and I promise you it's going to get you beyond that point. And if you can, and you'll be able to do it successfully. Now, having said that, I'm going to go ahead and get into what I really want to touch on. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter how great you are, how much experience or how much knowledge you have accumulated over the years, or how good you are at the art form of your craft, guys. It doesn't matter. In your industry, it doesn't matter. If you cannot communicate yourself effectively, your success will be limited. I promise you. And the idea here is that I don't care how much you know, right? You ever heard that saying? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's a fact. Now, if you can't teach me, and if you can't explain it at a level that will help benefit me in my life, then what use is it that for me? Or what use is it that of me to basically, or to me, I should say, what is it? How does it help me? And those are all things that I think, again, I know that are a necessity for you to be able to explain to anyone what value it has in that individual's life. What is it? How is it going to impact them? Is it going to help them? Is it going to improve the quality of their life? Whatever it is you're offering, you have to be able to articulate that message and not confuse the individual that's sitting next to you, or over the phone, or in a Zoom call, or wherever it is that you're sitting at that point with someone trying to explain to them why they should basically buy something from you. Right? Now, it is your duty to your craft, right? And to the things that you've built into your life to be able to successfully communicate it so that other people can benefit from all the efforts you spent at becoming an expert or doing whatever it is you do to become proficient in your life. Now, the thing to remember is communication is more than just speaking the words, as we know. It does really require thought and preparation, and making sure you're delivering yourself clearly and in a straightforward fashion. Now, that may seem simple, or maybe it just depends on your personality. Maybe that seems a little bit nerve-wracking to you, because I know for a lot of people that's nerve-wracking to get up and be able to effectively communicate your message and articulate that message. But I'm one to actually never have really, I guess it's important to practice. Maybe look at yourself in the mirror before you actually do the presentation to see what your facial expressions look like and your gestures, and because people are reading that actually. And the energy and the vibe that you give off is exactly the energy and the vibe that whoever you're facing or whoever you're speaking to is going to project back to you. So either way, this doesn't necessarily happen overnight, as we know. And yes, you can probably carry out a conversation right now, one-on-one or casually with somebody at a coffee shop, right? Because we all do it at Starbucks or any of those Dunkin' Donuts, at any of those major coffee shops, or great coffee shops, smaller coffee shops out there as well. I'm going to give them credit. But what I found and I'm sure you agree, is that when you get up in front of a group of people, or when you're presenting yourself in a way where you're trying to persuade or communicate a new idea, if we're not used, if we're not used that, if we're not using that kind of used to that kind of environment, our minds can tend to play a little bit of a trick up on us at some point, and our minds might escape or just shut down, and we forget exactly what we wanted to say in that moment. And that's where you need to recognize that successful communication in public speaking formats doesn't necessarily just happen by chance or naturally. It really doesn't. Even the people that you watch and admire how good they are at speaking in front of a group of people probably had to spend a lot of time practicing that. There's very few people that just get up and wing it and nail it the first time, right? As we know, like it really is hard. And but in my opinion, if you just, with a little practice and basically being able to just say hi to somebody at any point in time and strike up a conversation will enhance your skills. And that might seem counterintuitive and you might not believe it, but it's true. Do a little bit of research on people who speak in front of audience. Almost 100% of the time, they have really, really practiced that craft to get good at it. And they were not natural at it, of course, nor are you or I. But that doesn't mean you can't get where they got to. Set the baseline, or set a baseline, and you'll understand that you'll get a little bit better each and every day, or every time you do it. But you want to make sure you're clear and straightforward with your delivery. Now, as you may or may not know, public speaking is often a huge fear of people, right? We know that. People are fear of getting up there and speaking in front of a group or in front of anybody, right? We fear getting rejected. That's pretty much, it kind of was ingrained in us. And I think that sometimes that's just programming, but it's easy to unprogram yourself from that point. So here's the thing. In the previous week, we talked about the importance of facing our fears and operating the face of fear, or even just doing things that we're scared of, or that we had to do, or we're scared that we had to do at some point. And if you really want to master yourself and take yourself to the next level and become the kind of person who really, really achieves maximum potential in your lifetime, then public speaking is absolutely something you want to conquer and become at least proficient at. Just a little bit. Just come, so that way you can literally sit there and talk to anyone just about anything, and be able to articulate a message, of course, about something that you know about, not always something you don't know about. And I think that's the key component, is knowing what you're talking about in order to articulate the message. And again, we're not necessarily suggesting you become a paid speaker, or I'm not, but you want to be good at this. So here are the action steps that I feel, in my opinion, that I think that will work. And I know that works because I've done it in my own situation and environment, and I've learned to effectively communicate my message by obviously practicing, always talking to people, striking up a conversation, and engaging, right? And then understanding what makes that individual tick, and then articulate that message, or give them the information that is pertinent to be able for them to make a decision. Again, you don't really have to use big words. You just have to be able to help the individual understand what it is that they're getting into, right? And I think that's 101 at this point, communication 101. So we talked about this earlier, about the need for you to practice this part. And let's talk about some action steps that will get you going on that particular path. The first thing is, take a few minutes and outline a 5-minute speech. The outline is the topic of your talk and each point you want to make. Now, if you want to take this step, basically a step further, you could join like an association like Toastmasters. I've been a part of Toastmasters. It's really cool. It's really awesome. And they actually have assignments and weekly get-togethers where you get up and you do a 5-minute speech just like this in a very supportive environment. So if you really want to take this lesson to heart, guys, You might want to do something like that. Now, then, if you're using the outline, at that point, you want to write the full speech. Now, what's cool about this is that when you write it, it allows you to form your thoughts slowly and really think about the message that you want to communicate in a safe and friendly environment. There's nobody listening to you, and you can just let your thoughts flow a little bit. You could even use like mind mapping or brainstorming to really make sure that you get in touch with the most important ideas that you feel good about. Now, then you can write it into a full speech to a point where you can actually hear yourself speaking it, at least in your mind. Now, then it will come time at some point where you have to practice the speech. Practicing your speech in the mirror is a great, or just practicing your speech out loud. That's the great part about it, right? Maybe even taping yourself and doing it on camera, like I said, in the mirror even, so you can see yourself watching yourself deliver the message. And then watch your mannerisms, listen to your tone. That's extremely important, right? Because if you're just monotone, no one's going to hear you. If you're not a little bit funny or say something that I think that's going to grab the attention of someone that you're speaking to, you got to be able to resonate, right? And I'm going to warn you here, if you haven't done this before, there's a very good chance you're going to hate watching the playback. Because I know I hate sometimes listening to myself, but I had to get over that real fast and really just hone in on where I needed to improve on. Even in my speech, when I'm doing a presentation, I think that that's important that, you can have to watch your eye movements, your lips, your fingers, whatever it is that you do. If you move your hands a lot, those are all things that I think are sometimes a distraction. So maybe you want to limit that. But I'm an individual that uses their hands a lot and their arms, and because I'm expressive. So maybe you're that person as well. If you record just the audio, you're going to hate the sound of your voice. It's just natural. If you do a video, you might not even like the way that you look and or sound, right? And I think that's pretty normal as well. And that's okay. That's the journey that we're on here. And it's just to overcome these inhibitions and overcome the discomfort and fear of this and make it a second nature to you, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. And again, people that you watch and admire as great communicators, they went through this, and you can get through it too, as I did. And it's only going to enhance and improve your life. Then you want to practice your speech to an audience. You might want to start just with your spouse or some immediate family members or friends, whoever would listen to you, right? Whoever take the time to listen. Just do it in front of them. And like I said, before you do that, pre-record yourself, look yourself in the mirror, do everything possible so that you can deliver a successful presentation or speech or whatever it is that you're doing. But this might be out of your comfort zone to begin with, and that's okay. Again, pick the smallest audience that you need to get done the first time and then build from there. It's pretty simple. Now, you might want to do it in a group setting, or maybe you want to call a meeting at the office with some of your colleagues or even your managers, or a larger group, or depending on your level of ambition. Then you might want to take it a step further and do a video where you can just post it on YouTube and Facebook. And now you're opening up to a whole new world of people that can actually watch you virtually. And then, believe it or not, this can also be very uncomfortable or a scary thing to do, because if you've never done it before, it's going to be scary, right? Because it's out of your comfort zone. But once you do it a few times, you really start wearing down the whole nervous aspect of it. And you make it a lot more like a second nature thing to yourself. And by the end of doing all of this, your fear of public speaking, if you had one before, it will go away. It'll literally dissipate. But also, you've taken an entire month or week to work on your art form or your craft, or of being a better communicator, of being a better speaker. And like we said at the very beginning, this is only going to help you become more successful in whatever endeavor you're working towards right now. I just wish you the best of luck. See you at the top.